when we're looking at how we want to help this population within the Older Americans Act, we do have to always recognize, which we've already discussed a little bit, cultural diversity within the families. But I do have some very specific recommendations that I'd like to get to. Too often we hear that caregivers express a lot of guilt, and they have a lot of emotional issues that are not being addressed within the programs that are being served. We try to give the meals and maybe we get somebody in the home, but a lot of the caregivers really need that emotional support. So our programs need to emphasize the mental health aspect and deal with that with the caregivers to help with their anxiety. It also really needs to focus on the caregiver not as an assistive device, but the caregiver as themselves and whether or not this is an appropriate role for them. I remember just 2 weeks ago, a woman called our office. She's 85 years old, and she called to say that she was a caregiver. And I'm like, who are you caring for? My mom, she's 105, and she's driving me crazy. So we're seeing more and more older adults caring for older adults. And when you're still a child at 85 caring for your parent, it's going to hit you, and you need that support. So some of the recommendations, and I'll get these out very quickly because I have like 30 seconds. We need to foster really the development and delivery of a caregiver assessment protocol that goes across all settings. So to help people transition from hospital to home and back into the community agencies. We need to encourage the primary care settings to have more understanding and actually identify family caregivers so that maybe within the Older Americans Act we can use some of that funding to really help work with the primary care settings. We need to look at some of the limitations that are in 3E that do not include help for people who are caring for someone with stroke, which is a very large population, and particularly in the minority populations. And also, what about an older adult who's caring for somebody with traumatic brain injury? This doesn't get covered, so you have 80-year-olds who may still be caring for someone, and I think they're going to cut off my mic, obviously. Funding should, and we should also include funding for ongoing training and support of staff and volunteers in local programs, both at the state and national level, and continue to look at evidence-based training. And I hope I have more time later for questions. Thank you.